In 1921, a young woman who arose from the poverty of the Texas cotton fields captured the hearts of the black population of America. She taught them to overcome not only racial barriers, but the barriers within themselves, and in doing so, dare to dream. This is her story.
Now, what you gonna name this new baby girl of yours?
Her name is Elizabeth, and she's my 10th born.
It was no shock to Susan Coleman when her 10th born child quickly developed into the brightest kid in school. She loved reading, and her math skills were exceptional.
Bessie would often read the book out loud to her family and dramatically act out some of the brave characters. It's not surprising that Uncle Tom's Cabin was one of her favorite books.
Even though the conduct of the characters, Uncle Tom and Topsy, disgusted young Bessie, they presented themselves as humiliating doormats to the slave owners, and she viewed them as spineless cowards.
And right in the middle of this social musical upheaval was a young cotton-picking girl from Waxahachie, Texas, Elizabeth Bessie Coleman. Was she overwhelmed by it all? Of course she was. We're talking about a girl who just a few years earlier had to be off the streets before dark. Now the stroll after dark was her playground. Was she intimidated? Not at the least. Bessie jumped in with both feet. She became the proverbial kid in the candy store and relished her newfound lifestyle.
No flying school in America would admit her. They would tell her that she was a woman, which she already knew, and they would tell her she was colored, which she also already knew. She was considered one of the best in the world by the best in the world. When Bessie Coleman walked on the stage to receive the award, the entire audience, 500 whites in the reserved seats and 400 African Americans in the balcony, rose and gave a standing ovation to the first Negro pilot in the world. Her message to the schools she visited was always the same: if I can do it, you can do it. Bessie abruptly let it be known that if her people were not allowed to enter through the main gate, there would be no Bessie Coleman through any gate. Bessie Coleman's death overwhelmed the black people of America in 1926. She said what she wanted, to whom she wanted, and let the chips fall where they may. And in doing so, unknowingly became the spokesperson for millions of silent voices. With her untimely death, they had lost more than a rising star. They had lost a family member. Her tragedy was their tragedy. Over 40% of the famed Tuskegee Airmen learned to fly at the first black flying school in America, where Bessie Coleman was instrumental in opening. One of the most deserving honors bestowed on Bessie was by the United States Postal Service, when they noted, even 65 years after her death, she continues to have a positive influence on millions of young people, and in doing so has achieved the status of an American legend.
Hello and welcome to the roundtable discussion on Bessie Coleman's life. How do you feel about our film being in schools, streamed in schools?
I think it can have a huge impact considering the black and white issues that are going on. I also noticed that there isn't much black history anymore in schools, like talked about or addressed, and even some parents complain about it being there altogether, as far as I'm concerned, or experienced anyway.
Yeah.
True. I feel like it's underestimated and it's really relevant. So it's like we basically take in everything that they're teaching us and really don't seek for ourselves.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's more, Bessie Coleman's around there, or that we just don't know about.
Exactly.
It's way more relevant than we show really.
I think, like he said, it's definitely still relevant considering what we're going through today. and it's definitely overlooked, possibly because of maybe when she did it, or the fact that things still haven't changed since then, so it continues to be overlooked, as well as the other Bessie Colemans. But as far as it being in schools, I think that would be extremely important, because for a lot of people to know who they are, they would have to know where they came from, and that would benefit anybody learning these things tremendously.
I definitely agree.
I think it's really important because, like everyone, I didn't hear about Bessie Coleman in school, and it's really like important because it's kind of correcting history, because she was the first African American pilot way before like the
Tuskegee Airmen.
Tuskegee and like and all the black rights stuff, and that was before kind of
the civil rights movement.
Civil rights movement and stuff. So it's really important to learn about that and kind of show.
And
Bessie.
it's funny because it's like I definitely didn't hear about her until, someone else brought it to my attention recently, and I had to, do some studying. But I feel like, it's up to us basically to go out and, see, the things that we're curious about, about our history. I feel like it's up to us.
It shouldn't be just a one-time thing. We have the Black History Month. Everyone's waiting for February to come around so we can know, let's learn about somebody. But the ironic thing about that is when February comes around, we learn about the same people we've already learned about that's in the curriculum. And what kids need to realize is there was people out there before all this stuff happened. Martin Luther King is amazing. But before he even came on the scene, she was there, with all the things, being outside after dark and all this stuff, all the danger that came with it. And then she had a strong personality, and we know how that is right now, even in this age, having a strong personality, how that can get you booked off and fired in a second.
Stigma that we carry a lot as Black women is our attitude or why you look so mean, or like we have a stigma about whether we're approachable or not. And growing up as a Black woman, you deal with that a lot, like, oh, she's Shaniqua or whatever, so to speak, a stereotype. But I learned about Bessie Coleman because my mom wanted to be a pilot, so I was experienced and aware of what she did and the barriers that were broken, but you still have limits. There's still limits for us still to say you can try and strive and you can want to. I have dreams, I have this, but you're gonna have that person. Okay, first of all, you too Black, or you're a woman. That plays a big role in everything that's going on today. And like I said, we just have a stereotype that I try not to portray or don't put me on the same list. So I think Bessie Coleman really broke a lot of barriers for us, but I feel like we still have blinders on to our capabilities and what we can actually do as women, or not even just Black women period, but African Americans, I feel like, are really under the thumb about a lot of things, or limited, especially as African American males. You guys have the biggest issues that are going on today, so this is really relevant.
Hearing about it in schools, I feel like the children need to be exposed to, this is like a new thing for them, and knowing that, with technology now and all the hands that can reach our children, they always make the excuse that, I'm being bullied and this is happening and I can't do this. Well, I grew up in the, the hood and I can't get out of that. I'm like, she was poor. She grew up with one parent, her mother, a lot of kids in the family. So you have zero excuse to why you're not doing what you want to do, but the problem is now kids are so focused on their image instead of what's up here that they haven't actually took the time to figure out what they want to do with their future, and so having seen who she is and what she did in that time, I feel like it starts to get the wheels going in their heads.
She knew what she wanted from the beginning.
Any obstacle or excuse they can give, she's already overcame it. So they have no choice but to embrace it at that point. And fight for what they want to get.
And it really shows that she was pretty credible because her networking was really good. Like she didn't have her own plane, she was actually, somebody had to, let her use their plane, which was interesting to me, as a Black woman in that era, and it's you know, it's just.
Who would think to do something?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's like as a white male, it's like, you know, it just shows that everybody's not bad, and every white person's not bad, every black person's not bad. You know, it just shows that, you know, there was a nice range for, you know, people. People really accepted and was still okay then, and then a lot of information you look into now about then just seems so negative, you know. Yeah. And it's something it's good to see that you can take positive things, you know, and who influenced her, you know, as far as who influenced her and who helped her. It's like those are some positive things, because as a black person then, you know, we wasn't that privileged. You know, it just, you know, looking back then, we wasn't that privileged. So without other people in her life, she probably wouldn't have, you know, been able to excel as much without, you know, this white guy that we might look back and think that something bad about him, you know.
Everything was so one-sided.
Everything definitely.
So we're going to go ahead and bring in another guest and say goodbye to Kay. So we were just asking the last guest what they think about this film being in schools today.
I think it's vital for this film to be in the schools. I think it's a part of our history that has been left out, that should not have been left out. I mean, there's a lot of things that have been left out, but it's like when you find this stuff out, it should be implemented into our schools, because even at my age, there was things that I didn't know about. For instance, Bessie Coleman. And when it was brought to me, who was she? And I was like, my best friend's mother's name was Bessie Coleman, but you know, and then when it was explained to me who she really was, I was amazed. The only thing I remembered was the stamp that had her on it, but I never knew who she was and what she did. Yeah. So I think it's very, very important that things like this are implemented into the schools for the children.
Yeah. What do you think that are children really going to pick up on this, or is it going to be one of those instances that, you know, kids say, oh, it's just history, let's forget about it, let's move on, it's boring? You think they're really going to grasp the message we're trying to send out to them?
I feel like that's the beauty of it. So it's like the ones who do, it's like they're innocent to it. So they can go deeper into, like, they seek the knowledge so they can go deeper into it, instead of somebody who just, you know, who really don't care, you know, and they'll just let it go. It's like that's usually supposed to happen, because it's like the people who look into it, or the students who's interested in it, well, and I feel like there's a lot of students who's more, you know, who's interested in these things. So I feel like they can effectively use it more than somebody who's just like, you know, I'll just listen to it, you know, instead of just, I don't know, just doing that.
I feel like as far as schools go, if you're going to implement it, it's something that should be taught every year, you know, because Martin Luther King wasn't taught to even me in just one class. Yeah. And I know him so well because he wasn't just taught in one class, you know, and we hear about him every year. You're always hearing about Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, the same few people, but they continuously let you know about how their stories went. That's how you'll really learn the importance of what she had to go through to get where she got. Because I mean, dreams have no race. Everybody has dreams they need to get to, and that's what her story is really about. That's what all their stories really are about, is just fighting, overcoming obstacles to get where you're trying to go. Yeah.
And I think not only that, I think that with more of Black history being added in, it's going to tell more of a story of whom we are, where we come from, as people. You're right, as people. And I think that not only should this not be told, you know, in more than just one class, there's other people that should be implemented in too. So that we'll know more. Like for instance, none of us at this table can name 5 African queens or kings. We should know that. Yeah. Because they're there, but why don't we know? Yeah. There's so much, we don't know half of the Blacks or African Americans, or whatever you want to call it, who actually have invented things. Yeah. Like the ironing board, the washer and dryer, the elevator. Who invented the elevator?
Yeah.
You know, it's so much stuff that we don't know, and we need to know these things so that we know that we are somebody, so that everybody knows.
So
that
the disease still lives in America. That's the whole thing. We went round circle to end at the same spot. You know, to X out the significant things that our race have done, you know, to glorify stuff, I say dead presidents, but I know they're important, but the things that have impacted our progression in life today needs to be told. Whether you're white, black, purple, or green, we need to know. So this encourages the minority. You know, we already know who the majority is. It's been that way from the beginning of time. The minorities need to know, okay, regardless of the obstacles, I can still make a difference and I can still do something great. Because in my community today, I have nobody around me. You know, so what happens when I'm alone by myself trying to do something? Can I actually make a difference? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do this for. We need to have this video and they need to see it and they need to interact with each other. Kids and teacher needs to, I'm gonna say not really pound it into them, but get them to realize that you need to start doing something now. Bessie didn't wait for a perfect time to actually move forward. She did what she had to do, you know. And the funny thing is, a lot of people want it to be convenient for them. You know, I don't want to work at no McDonald's or do nothing like that. You know, you know, washing clothes is kind of like working at McDonald's for her. You know, it's doing the low end type of thing just to get by, just to get the money she needed, to get the education she needed, and to get to where she needs to go. You know.
It's good to. I really think I think, you know, it just makes me curious. The topic just makes me curious. You know, because it's like I know there's a lot of more. You know, like we were saying earlier, you know, Bessie Coleman's and biggest kept secrets, you know, and I feel like that can be effective in young people's lives, you know,
change people's lives,
and not just black or white. It's just like everybody basically. It's like it's the principle of the dream or the the journey to the destination. You know, I think that's what the young people should take from it, you know, if it is put into schools, black and white, you know, everybody, you know, say I live in the hood and, you know, I have a white friend and he's the minority, you know, in that situation. So it's like, you know, we can't put a face on it really, you know, it's just like everybody has perspective. Right. There's plenty of different perspectives, you know, and their struggle is struggle, you know, even though it's not the same. So I just feel like, you know, it can be way more effective than, you know, it is, you know, just to flip through the channel and see it. Because it's like, I feel like you can flip through a channel and see something and just take it on, but it's like when you go, you know, you seek into it, you look into it, go to the library for it, or you know, you go look into it, it's more
so how do we inspire our kids to actually have that motivation to seek into those things? Because kids now are focused, like I said, I'm gonna go right back to image. You know, everything surrounding us, Twitter, you know, Facebook, Instagram, everything is fashion for our kids to be obsessed with themselves. So how do we get our kids to be focused not just on the outward, but where are they going in life? You know, because we can show a film in any school. I remember seeing a lot of stuff in history class and being like, okay, that's nice. You know, so how do we engage them so they can start saying, you know, maybe I can actually do something. Maybe the fact that my mom's on drugs and my dad's not here doesn't really matter, because everyone's looking for someone to like and subscribe. So what happens when the kids in your school doesn't like you, or they don't want to follow you anywhere and you're by yourself? What do you do in that instance when the kid is by themselves? How do they succeed?
Well, I mean, I don't think we should have, in order for us to engage the kids, I don't think we should have to wait for them to come to us. As far as, you know, like you said, they're all engaged in social media more than almost anything. Yeah. So go to them, implement these stories onto social media, put it on their platform to where they have no choice but to
But to see
just a peek will do enough for some people. For a lot of people, honestly, you might just take a quick glance at something, and now you're engaged in it, and now you're watching straight through, and now you'll go to another website, look into it, look her up, and now you want to tell your friend. Maybe you'll tell you might retweet it. A retweet will show that same thing to everybody that sees anything, any actions on your page. So
using the platform that's actually destroying kids to actually motivate them, to encourage them to move forward. That's awesome.
Use it as a tool.
Instead of a fight on there, somebody fighting on Facebook. Put Bessie Coleman on it. Glorify that. You know.
And a lot of it is our young people programming. You know, because we have so many things stimulating our mind at this point. Video games, it's like, and then the boring things are at school, and it's like, why do I want to pay attention to the things at school? And it's like, actually, you know, where these things aren't presented to us, you know, how we want them to be. So it's like, you know, it's like we actually need to like it to be able to have discipline, you know, to see, instead of just having plain discipline, to be able to, you know, be interested in something that I don't know about, you know, that I can, you know, I can gain, you know, can make me better. Just
so are we going to we put some fault on the teachers and how they portray it, how they teach it to our students, you know, and our kids, because that's what makes different schools stand out from each other, is how the kid engages the student. Because if the student's not engaged, or they're not, you're not titillating their senses, then they're going to be scrolling on their phone, trying to find something to fill the time in their mind.
But you know what? I'm feeling at this point, if they haven't done it, why would we depend on them to do it? I think at this point, it's up to the parents.
That's so true.
I have a 5-year-old I'm raising now. And after learning about this, I've decided for mine to start teaching him now. I want to. He likes to be on the this pad thing, the iPad or whatever. And the other day he was on there, and he was just, you know, just real wild and rough with it. And I'm like, what is that? He was playing a shooting game, and I'm like, oh no, take it off. So what I want to do, and I think, you know, that we should start doing, is I'm replacing his stuff with a lot of stuff like Bessie Coleman, and just I got to do what I got to, educational stuff. I got to do what I got to do to make it interesting to him. And if it's not interesting to him, he's going to learn for it to be interesting to him, because he's not going to have a choice. And that's where parents come in. We have to make it a choice. We can't give that choice to them to learn this at that age. He's 5 years old. So right now, if I start giving him this stuff to do, showing him this stuff, then
it'll create interest.
It'll create the interest that he needs.
You're reprogramming.
So basically, that's what I'm gonna do for mine, is reprogram. The video game, like I've decided that he can look at that thing maybe 2 hours a day. The rest of it, throw on the football, you know, the basketball. I play basketball with him. You know, and learning this stuff, learning about Bessie Coleman.
Learning new skills and getting the right information.
Because they've become lazy. You ride the neighborhood, you don't see kids outside playing.
At all. They're disconnected from life itself, it seems like, because of tablets and cell phones. My little brother's 12 years old and he has an iPhone 7. I don't understand how that happened.
It's just like that's the era too. It's like we're so caught up on, you know, taking on what's given instead of, you know, going to, you know, look for this information ourselves. Like it's still, you know, I think I study a lot, but I still didn't know about Bessie Coleman, you know, which helped me once I did learn, you know. So I feel like, you know, what is it that I should, you know, sacrifice for, you know, like that's one of the biggest questions, you know, what is it that these young people, you know, should sacrifice for, you know, the gains, something that they can gain, and
pull away the nonsense and put in something that's going to actually do something for your life,
and appropriately challenge them though, you know. So it's not like just trying to go all in at once. It's just like, you know, appropriately challenge yourself, to program yourself to kind of, you know, because there's a lot of people who just you know, way out of it, you know, as far as knowing the history. And I feel like even some people who actually think they know history, maybe, you know, it's just so much hidden stuff out there. It's like you never really have the, you know, the full truth to things, if you ask me.
What do you think, Ryan?
Well, I think it's like really important to teach about like the important like black figures and stuff, like these role models for people, because it kind of helps like kind of show this culture and this history. And I think if we start doing that like from an early age, like showing people that, then I think it might like kind of reduce racism, and it might like kind of
ignorance is the biggest runner of racism, is because you don't really understand. That's why people keep pushing people into stereotypes. Oh yeah, no, all black people are angry, all black people are this, but you don't really know a black person or their struggles or what brought them to that point, because you can go to you know, a trailer park and get the same type of attitude that you got in the hood. You know, it is the programming, it's the atmosphere that they grow up in, and it's also the feeling of no escape. Because if you have no escape, then you're like, I might as well just settle into what it is. You know, and I feel like it's a partnership between parenting and schooling. You know, the kids need to hear from both ends. You know, and a lot of times we're here from parents, and it's just like, okay, whatever, you know. It's just like when they say, oh, you're beautiful, you're like, okay, you're my mom, you think that. But when you hear it from your parent, and then you go to school and they say the same thing, and it's constantly in your mind, and you're combating everything you see all around you, TV, social media, and then it becomes a part of your everyday walk, you know.
And as growing up, like, where I grew up in the hood, and actually I learned first to be a student of life. So I wasn't always in the class to have to learn something, you know. So it's like now at this point I can go home and study this, you know. Like I feel like, and it starts at a young age, I feel like, you know, there should be more students like that, where who's actually not just a student in the class, you know, who's actually a student of life, where, you know, you hear something just like, can you tell me that name again so I can go, you know, look it up.
Knowledge altogether. Knowledge altogether.
Right.
But a problem with depending on parenting for the kids knowing about history is, you got to understand which parents are going to be the parents telling these kids. Black parents. So at that point, only black kids know. But these aren't stories for only black kids.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
They're not.
That's why they really need to be, and really needs to be in schools. So everybody can be seeing, they could be learning about the same history. Everybody can see both sides. Because if only black parents are teaching their kids, then now only the black kids can see the sides or the other black figures that have invented the stoplight and the elevator and things like that.
But it's been how many years? Again, it's been how many years, and it hasn't been done?
It's retraining.
We haven't made too many steps forward.
Exactly.
We haven't, but any step forward is a good step forward.
Any step forward is good is a good step, but at the same time, I'm still going to say the same thing. Black folk, we got to get up off our butts, and we got to teach our children. And my grandson has play dates with Caucasian kids also. So when they come to my house, they got to learn it too.
All right, guys, we're going to actually wrap up. And thank you all for coming and discussing. We have a lot more to say and a lot more to discuss about, but that's for another time. Thank you.